In the part 1 of this wonderful story, Anna, facing infertility, sought help from a shrine where she learned she was bound to a water spirit. To keep her husband Aze's love, she made a deal with the river goddess, unaware of the consequences. But Aze gets to find out about her dark secrets. What happens to Aze and Anna? Let's dive into the part 2 and get to find out more. The witch doctor continued. Nene, desperate for a child, accepted the goddess' terms without fully understanding the consequences. She drank the water, and just as the goddess promised, she conceived and gave birth to a son. A few years later, she returned to the river, drank the water again and conceived a daughter. Nene thought she had outsmarted the goddess by bearing children and never returning to the river, but the goddess had not forgotten the promise. The old man paused, his voice growing sober. When Nene's granddaughter was born, the family named her Anna, just as the goddess had commanded. From that moment, Anna's fate was sealed. She was destined to be the bride of a river prince, bound to the water for all eternity. Her physical life was meant to be a shadow of her true existence in the river, where she had many children and lived in bliss with her spirit husband. Aze felt a chill run down his spine as the witch doctor's words sank in. But there's more, the witch doctor said gravely. Anna's connection to the river is so strong that it had made her unable to bear children in the physical world. The goddess had bound her so tightly to the waters that she cannot give her heart or womb to any other man. Aze's heart was heavy with despair. He had unknowingly married a woman who was already spiritually married to a river god. His hope for having a family was crushed, and he realized that his life had been manipulated by forces beyond his understanding. Is there anything I can do to break this bond? Aze asked desperately. The witch doctor shook his head. The bond is unbreakable. The only way to free yourself from this curse is to let Anna go. She belongs to the river, and as long as you stay with her, your life will continue to be shrouded in mystery and sorrow. Aze returned home, burdened with the knowledge of Anna's true identity. He was torn between his love for her and the realization that their union was doomed from the start. That night, he confronted Anna once more. Anna, I know everything, he said, his voice trembling. I know about your connection to the river, your spirit husband, and the cause that bind you to him. I know why you cannot have children, but what I don't understand is why you kept this from me. Why didn't you tell me the truth? Anna's eyes filled with tears as she realized that her secret had been uncovered. Aze, I was afraid, she confessed. I was afraid that if you knew the truth, you would leave me. I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to face the shame of being barren in our village. I thought that as long as we are together, we could find happiness, even without children. Aze's heart ached at her words. He couldn't see any pain in her eyes, the fear of losing the only life she had known. But he also knew that their love was built on a foundation of lies and secrets. Anna, he said gently, I love you, but I can't live like this anymore. We can't continue this way. With you tied to the river and me trapped in a marriage that can never give us the family we dreamed of. I think it's time we set each other free. Anna wept as she realized that Aze was right. She could no longer deny the truth of her existence or the toll it had taken on their marriage. With a heavy heart, she agreed to let him go. The next morning, Anna packed her belongings and left the house she had shared with Aze for so many years. She returned to her parents' where she was greeted with shock and concern by her family. They could not understand why she had left her husband, but Anna knew that she could never tell them the truth. As days passed, Anna withdrew further into herself, spending more and more time by the river. She could sit at the water's edge, talking to the goddess and her spirit children, finding solace in the only world where she truly belonged. The villagers whispered about her, calling her mad and cursed, but Anna no longer cared. She had accepted her fate, knowing that her true life was with the river and the family she had in the spirit realm. Eze, on the other hand, slowly began to rebuild his life. He mourned the loss of his wife and the family he never had, but he knew he has made the right decision. He eventually remarried a woman from another village, and together they started a new family, free from the shadow of the past. Years later, as Anna grew older, she spent more and more time by the river. Her connection to the water deepened. One day she disappeared from the village altogether. Some said she had drowned herself in the river out of despair, while others believed she had returned to her spirit family, finally embracing her true nature. The villagers erected a small shrine in her memory by the river, where they could leave offerings to appease the gods and ensure that no other family would be touched by such a curse again. The tales of Anna and the river goddess became a legend in Ozum, a story told to remind others of the powers of the spirits and the consequences of making bargain with the unknown. It was a story of love, loss, and the acceptance of one's true self, no matter how painful that truth might be. As for Eze, he lived a long and happy life surrounded by his children and grandchildren, but he never forgot the woman who had once been his wife, the mysterious and beautiful Anna, whose heart belonged to the river.